or finals match. While we're here, please share what's happening in the competition online. I hope you took the time to take some photos at the photo booth. And please remember to tag the TIU in your posts on social media. Please use the hashtag PSDebateJA2024. And for those of you who are on social media and have been posting, we see you and we thank you for that. Now, this is such a big and important moment, such an auspicious occasion. We have been joined by the Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Dr. the Honorable Nigel Clarke, the biggest advocate for this competition, who consistently provides his support. Welcome, Dr. Clarke. Now, we also have with us Minister of Justice, the Honorable Delroy Chuck. And Minister, please make sure you check out that debate that just happened. The teachers, the teachers were teaching and the educators were educating on matters of justice. So it was quite apt. Welcome also to Permanent Secretary Ambassador Sheila Sealy-Monteith from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. Also, Permanent Secretary Ms. Grace Ann Stewart McFarlane from the Ministry of Justice. Also joining us, please help me welcome Administrator General Mrs. Stacey Ann Carty. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment we have been waiting for in this season's competition, the grand final. Yes, yes. Fantastic. Now, I'm in a jubilant mood, and listen, for those of you who are just joining us, you missed a stellar performance between the Ministry of Education and Youth and the teaching service. But not to worry, you can view the match on the TIU's YouTube channel, and you will want to view that match, family. I'm always paying attention, you know. In this grand final match, we have the Administrator General's Department, the Proposition Team, and the Ministry of Justice, the Opposition Team. They will be debating the moot. Be it resolved that the gag clause in the Integrity Commission Act should be repealed. Be it resolved that the gag clause in the Integrity Commission Act should be repealed. Wow. Now, you see, when you cheered earlier, I could feel the excitement in the room. And it seems as if lines have been drawn based on the side that people are sitting. Well, listen, these two teams are undefeated. So we can expect a clash of the debating titans. Now, as I said, some things have been separated by just 5,000ths of a second. We don't know what will be splitting the difference today, but we expect it will be a really good match. Just a reminder, though, that the views expressed by the teams are not necessarily their own views. This is a debate, and they are putting forward the best arguments of their side. Well, let's meet the finalists. I will first invite Team Proposition to introduce themselves. Press again.
Pleasant morning, everyone.
Pleasant
morning, everyone. Okay.
It's on. Once it's press. Press.
Good morning.
We'll talk to you soon. Try the next one. You should see red.
Oh, dear.
It came on. Go ahead.
Okay. Pleasant morning, everyone. My name is Jessica Lewis, first speaker for the Proposition team.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Shadel Khoury, and I'm the second speaker for Team Proposition.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kudian King, and I am the reply speaker for Team Proposition.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I will now ask the team in opposition to introduce themselves. Hold on. Person, hold on. Wait for red. Wait for red light. Try the next one again.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Claudia Powell from Team Opposition.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Peyton Patterson, second speaker for the opposition.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jonah Lee Robertson, reply speaker for the opposition.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much, teams. Now, isn't it quite interesting that we have two teams situated in the Ministry of Justice for this competition, for the finals? Family. Once again, our adjudicators for today's match are our partners from the Jamaica Association of Debating and Empowerment, Jade Limited. Judges, the men in black, please introduce yourselves.
Good morning, everyone. I am Cleveland Tomlinson, and I will be the chief judge for the match.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Curtis Wallace, and I'm a wing adjudicator.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jermaine Barrett. I'm one of the chief adjudicators for the competition. And in this context, I'm a wing adjudicator.
Good afternoon. My name is Joshua Atkins, timekeeper.
Thank you very much, judges. Now, if I had the drum, I would be giving you the drum roll. But ladies and gentlemen, the stage is now set for an exhilarating debate as these 6 debaters will now battle it out to be crowned public sector debate competition champions for 2024. Judges, over to you. Let's debate.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Just a reminder of the important rules. Within the first minute of each speaker's speech, we regard that to be protected time, which means that no point of information can be asked of the speaker who is on the floor. Similarly, the last minute of each speaker's speech is also regarded as protected time. First speakers will speak for 7 minutes. Second speakers will speak for 6 minutes. Following the presentation from the second opposition speaker, the debate will transition to a period of cross-questioning. We will take, the proposition team will field questions from the opposition team, and then we'll have the converse of that. We will pause for 1 minute, then take the reply speeches, and that will be the flow for the debate. Ladies and gentlemen, be it resolved that the gag clause, the Integrity Commissions Act, should be repealed. With that said, let's get 7 minutes on the clock for the first proposition speaker from the Administrators General Department.
Mic check, okay. Some say to allow the Commission at large to report an investigation would open Pandora's box. Nobody should know about an investigation until it goes to Parliament. The question we should ask ourselves is why? What good purpose is served by hiding the commencement of an investigation into an allegation until such time? Panel of adjudicators, ladies finalists, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Be it resolved that the gag clause in the Integrity Commission Act should be repealed. This refers to Section 53.3 of the Integrity Commission Act, which essentially places an absolute ban on the IC indicating when they are investigating a corruption matter and keeps same confidential until it is tabled in Parliament. To repeal this is to revoke it or annul. Hereafter, we will refer to the Integrity Commission as the IC. We believe that the limitation placed on the IC contradicts their mandate and should therefore be revoked to allow for the furtherance of the Commission's mission to achieve a corrupt-free society. It is time to remove the shackles placed on the IC. I will convince you today by taking you through the history and purpose of the IC and the contradictory nature of the gag clause. Ms. Khoury will showcase that operating without the gag clause still achieves its objectives while balancing public interest and public perception. Ms. King will wrap us up and show you that you cannot muzzle the watchdogs. So let's begin. The history and purpose of the IC was to answer the cry of a corrupt nation. The gag clause stipulating that disclosures are limited until tabling contradicts its mandate. The National Integrity Action recounts that 74% of Jamaicans expressed strong support for a single anti-corruption commission in a Don Anderson poll of 2012. Previously, there was one, the Parliamentary Integrity of Members Commission to police MPs' assets and liabilities. 2, the Contractor General to ensure that the government procedures and contracts were free of misconduct and irregularity. And 3, the Commission for the Prevention of Corruption to keep check on public servants' income, assets, and liabilities. However, they struggled in an uphill journey of indiscretion, backlog, and a constant lack of convictions. So enter the Integrity Commission. The IC merged the 3 anti-corruption entities and is governed under the Integrity Commission Act of 2017. So follow me on the mandate. They check government procedures, public officials like you and I, and parliamentarians. They're to enhance public confidence, achieving transparency, accountability, and fairness. In their investigations, they are to take necessary and effective measures for the prevention and detection of corruption within public bodies. I say this to say, how has the presence of the gag clause augmented any of this? It even makes us non-compliant with the UN Convention Against Corruption, of which we are a signatory. We are obligated to promote the active participation of individuals in the corruption fight by ensuring that the public has effective access to information. Note again, effective. It must be understood that silence fosters corruption. The gag clause, which was first introduced as a prevention against the abuse of power, has revealed itself as a silencer under the guise of confidentiality, doing nothing in the fight of corruption the IC was meant to lead. Let's continue. To alleviate concerns of the opposition from the get-go, the Act's framework includes robust safeguards against indiscriminate disclosures, not Section 53.3. The gag clause has become a noose, hindering the Commission in their very purpose. Again, why should a report or public statement on investigations wait on Parliament's tabling before ventilating it to the public? I'll get into 2 safeguards. Look at the composition of the Commission itself. It's not a one-man band, but a collegial body acting on majority decisions. It includes competent individuals in the Commission itself, including retired judges capable of making determinations on investigations to the benefit of the public and to those subject to the investigations. Additionally, Section 53.1 prohibits the Commission from releasing any information that could harm the public's interest or adversely affect Jamaica's international relations. Therefore, the gag clause, Section 53.3, is made redundant. Considering this panel of adjudicators, ladies and gentlemen, the proposition firmly believes that the gag clause should be repealed. Consequently, the Commission should have the authority to comment as necessary and appropriate without the existing restrictions. Remember, justice must not only be done, but seen to be done. By giving the IC a semblance of freedom, but maintaining the shock collar of such bureaucracy diminishes the mandate and effect of the Commission. It must go. The clause should therefore be repealed and replaced with the following. 1, that it will exercise its discretionary authority to make announcements about its investigations, A, when there are operational reasons for announcing the investigation, such as a call for witnesses, or B, when when there is some other substantial reason why the announcement of the investigation would be in the public interest. 2, where a person is exonerated, the Commission shall publish the finding of the inquiry. Only what is limited and necessary will be ventilated, and it will be done without waiting on another party. With this replacement, we're focused on freeing the Commission to do what they're meant to with discretion based on certain factors. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, what can be more critical than the awareness that grave improper conduct is being carried out by those entrusted with power, by the parliamentarians sworn to dedicate their lives to the betterment of the people, by public officials not operating as they should as public servants, about the government's policies, procedures, and contracts that should be fairly obtained. The gag clause does not benefit the anti-corruption fight, public transparency, nor effectiveness. It is unnecessary. We insist that a repeal and replacement will aid Jamaica to combat this national fiend of corruption. Tie up the loose ends, man. Repeal the gag clause. The proposition pauses.
We thank the first proposition speaker for opening the debate, and we invite the response and presentation from the first opposition speaker. Hear, hear.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable judges, esteemed opponents, and fellow audience members, good afternoon. My name is Claudia Powell, first speaker in opposition of the motion. Be it resolved that the gag clause in the Integrity Commission Act should be repealed. Mr. Speaker, the propositions say silence fosters corruption, but we disagree. The IC, if free to speak after the end of investigation and tabling of a report to Parliament, this protects the reputational damage of the individual. Furthermore, let me ask, are they truly prepared to gamble with the integrity of our justice system by turning sensitive investigations into a public spectacle? Imagine a world unfounded accusations and half-truths run rampant, destroying the character, reputation, and good name of whosoever is the subject. This is not transparency. This is recklessness, and we, the opposition, stand firmly against it. As the first speaker, I will define the key terms of the moot before proceeding to outline the status quo, the purpose of the IC, and the importance of the gag clause. Subsequently, I will present on two main arguments, namely the essential role of the gag clause in protecting the reputation of innocent public officials and the presumption of innocence that currently obtains in our legal system. Secondly, the argument of preventing public panic. Peyton will further argue how the gag clause supports principles of justice and fairness in our society. Thereafter, Jonah Lee will advance our formal reply. Rejected at this time. Mr. Speaker, for the purpose of this debate, a gag clause is a provision fettering the ability to disclose information, and for this moot, the gag clause being referred to is Section 53(3) of the Integrity Commission Act, which provides that all matters under investigation are to remain confidential before the tabling of a report to Parliament. Non-disclosure before the tabling of a report in Parliament will be critical to bear in mind, Mr. Speaker, as we, the opposition, are not in support of corrupt public officials, and neither do we believe that their misconduct should be kept a secret. Corrupt public officials should and must be held accountable. Wrong and strong is, however, not our position. In holding corrupt officials accountable, innocent public officials must be protected, not at this time, to encourage honest service without fear of unfair taint. Having defined the key terms, let us review the burden of the proposition. Throughout this debate, the burden of the proposition is not to merely argue for the annulment of Section 53(3), but to also clearly show how the gag clause has affected, delayed, prevented, and/or frustrated the efforts of the IC in investigating a public official. It is our position that it is not. In fact, Mr. Speaker, the Integrity Commission is fully empowered to carry out its core function of investigating allegations of corruption. This is done free from undue interference or influence. We must submit that the gag clause is what supports this. How so? By allowing the IC to act independently without powerful, high-ranking government officials frustrating their efforts because they were prematurely informed that they are under investigation.
Point of information.
Go ahead.
My opponents, when did we say we will release sensitive information? Did we not say limited and necessary disclosure?
But remember that the report only goes to Parliament after the investigation is completed. It is our position that it has not. In fact, Mr. Speaker, the Integrity Commission is fully empowered to carry out its core function of investigating allegations of corruption. This is done free from undue interference or influence. We must submit that the gag clause is what supports this. How so? By allowing the IC to act independently without powerful high-ranking government officials frustrating their efforts because they were prematurely informed that they are under investigation. Secondly, it prevents investigators from operating with bias by ensuring that premature disclosures are not made out of malice or ill will without thorough investigative informed conclusions. Thirdly, the gag clause facilitates the public's best interest by ensuring that public statements are not made in an untimely manner. We further submit, Mr. Speaker, that the gag clause was included to prevent prejudice to the investigative function of the IC and also to protect the reputation of innocent public officials who are being investigated. It accounts for the reality that a tarnished reputation is like a shattered glass. No amount of tape or glue can put it back together, and you can all relate. The Integrity Commission, which succeeded the Office of the Contractor General, OCG, has significantly improved on its predecessors' handling of sensitive information and allegations. The OCG was frequently criticized for premature public exposure of investigations, which had a significant negative impact on the reputations of the individuals being investigated. Why would the proposition want to see them regress? Mr. Speaker, the gag clause allows for a fair and balanced approach, whereby investigations and reputations are protected until the close of an investigation. It is then, and only then, after all the evidence has been collected and the Director of Corruption Prosecution recommends the evidence presented, shows that the person actually has a case to answer and that the report should be tabled in Parliament, that disclosure about the matter is made to the public. My esteemed opponent, the presumption of innocence and protection of reputations are fundamental aspects of our legal system. Fair one. And the gag clause plays a crucial role in preserving both. You may ask how. The gag clause ensures that individuals are not prematurely tried in the court of public opinion based on incomplete or speculative information. This safeguard is essential for maintaining the integrity of legal proceedings and protecting the presumption of innocence. By preventing the early release of sensitive information, the gag clause helps avoid skewed public assumptions, perceptions, and ensures that the investigative process remains fair and unbiased. Mr. Speaker, I further submit that without the gag clause, early public disclosure of allegations can sway public opinion and introduce bias against an individual before investigations are completed. This was highlighted by a 2020 UE study, which found that 64% of Jamaicans believe that publicized allegations before formal investigations affect perceptions of guilt. My opponent, on the matter of preventing public panic, the IC deals with serious allegations, and releasing this information before it is properly substantiated by thorough investigation and then reported and tabled in Parliament can cause public panic and unrest, especially in the era where information can be disseminated faster and wider. In our Jamaican society, there is a presumption that all public officials are corrupt. Mr. Speaker, I conclude. It is clear that the case for keeping the gag clause is both compelling and urgent. It facilitates the protection of an individual's reputation, and it also prevents public panic. The IC has now...
Thank you, Speaker. Time has elapsed. We thank the first opposition speaker for her contribution to the debate, and we will move to take the contribution from the second proposition speaker from the Administrators General Department.
Panel of adjudicators, esteemed opponents, and our valued audience, good afternoon. I will now continue the proposition's argument for the repeal of the gag clause. We have proposed a replacement that facilitates limited and necessary disclosure when the Commission deems there is an operational need, such as ascertaining witnesses or when it aligns with the public's interest. I will now build upon our case by demonstrating, one, how the gag clause hampers IC ability to conduct conduct thorough investigations, and 2, how its removal can safeguard the public's interest while protecting the reputation of those under investigation, as evidenced by practices in other jurisdictions. And to address the concerns raised by the opposition regarding potential violations of principles of natural justice, it is essential to distinguish between an investigatory statement by the IC and a conclusive declaration of guilt. The former merely indicates that an inquiry is underway, which does not equate to an infringement of the presumption of innocence or the right to a fair trial. I will now get into my substantive. Mr. Speaker, we argue that the gap clause undermines the Act's core purpose, particularly by restricting the pool of potential witnesses and shutting down avenues of investigative leads. Section 6C of the Act mandates the IC to take all necessary measures to prevent and detect corruption. By barring the IC from publicizing ongoing investigations, we inevitably hinder the investigative process as individuals with valuable information are left unaware and unable to contribute. This issue was underscored by the Jamaica Accountability Portal Meter in their submission to the Joint Select Committee, which noted the IC's inability to fully execute its mandate due to these restrictions. They pointed out the success of other entities such as the JCF and the Auditor General's Department, which benefit from public disclosures that encourages citizens to provide crucial information. We assert that the gap clause significantly impairs the IC, a pivotal entity in Jamaica's battle against corruption, from enjoying this same advantage. Additionally, the IC's limitation extends beyond public disclosures. It is also barred from sharing information with other investigative bodies, both domestic and international, prior to the report being tabled in Parliament. The Director General of the FID lamented in his submission to the Oversight Committee that the gap clause not only impedes the IC's operations, but also affects the FID, as the IC is restricted from sharing information with them before a report is tabled in Parliament. Mr. Speaker, in cases of high-stakes investigations, time is usually of the essence, and to wait until the report is tabled in Parliament is counterintuitive. Consequently, the gap clause must go. Secondly, and quite regrettably, the gap clause tips the balance in favor of protecting individual reputations at the expense of the public interest. Not accepted at this time.
Point of information.
This stance is indefensible, as the public's right to know should generally prevail over concerns of potential reputational harm. To clarify, we are not advocating for carte blanche or reckless disclosure. Indeed, we acknowledge that reputational damage is an unwanted side effect. However, we contend that the proposed replacement, a more equitable balance can be achieved. Consequently, further to the policy exposed by our first speaker, we submit that the IC should consider the following guidelines when determining necessary disclosures.
Point of information.
One, quickly.
You stated earlier that IC was prevented from sharing information with other entities, but Section 7 of the Act empowers it to share with FID, MOCA, JCF, and any entity needed to conduct investigation.
They are not able to make the disclosure before the report is tabled in Parliament. So in the case where the evidence is effervescent and can disappear, that might hamper the investigation. I now continue. So they'll consider 1, the seriousness of the offense; 2, the notoriety and prominence of the individual; 3, the risk of the evidence disappearing; 4, whether the information is already public; and 5, the individual's right to privacy. So empowering the IC to make essential disclosures promotes transparency and accountability, while ensuring corruption allegations are not ignored. Limited and necessary information can be disclosed, keeping identities confidential when appropriate. This balances privacy and public accountability. Additionally, our proposal includes publishing an exonerating statement if someone is found not guilty, similar to our practice in Barbados, and this approach should be adopted in Jamaica. Thirdly, the proposition emphasizes the IC is the sole investigative entity in the island bound by a gap clause. The restriction is at odds with the Commission's mandate, as noted in its 3rd annual report. A case in point is the May 2019 report by the Gleaner, which revealed that both the JCF and the FID had initiated an investigation into a high-profile public official 5 months prior to any charges being levied. This level of transparency is not extended to the IC. Such a discrepancy raises concerns about the true purpose of the gap clause, considering that the IC, the agency charged with probing public officials, is not permitted to disclose information until, in most cases, the very subjects under scrutiny choose to table the report in Parliament. Moreover, Mr. Speaker, I wish to draw attention to the fact that our international counterparts such as Canada and New Zealand, which have similar legislative frameworks but fewer instances of corruption, do not impose a gag clause like the one that constrains Jamaica's IC. The New Zealand's, my apologies, this makes our commission an outlier. For instance, under the New Zealand Serious Fraud Office Act, disclosures are allowed if the director deems them beneficial to their investigations or when it is in the public's interest to do so. Mr. Speaker, Jamaica should embrace this model which adeptly balances the public's right to know and the protection of individuals' reputations during the inquiries. By adopting a similar stance, Jamaica can achieve this equilibrium by enhancing both transparency and fairness in our anti-corruption efforts. Mr. Speaker, I have illustrated that the gag clause impedes the IC's core mission to uncover corruption. Furthermore, I have outlined how a proper balance can be achieved between safeguarding the public's interest and preventing undue harm to the individual's reputations. In conclusion, the proposition has compellingly argued for the repeal of the muzzle that is the gag clause.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you for your contribution to the debate. We thank the second proposition speaker, and we invite to make the case for his team the second opposition speaker from the Ministry of Justice. Hear, hear.
Hear, hear. Judges, opposition's audience, good afternoon. I am Peyton Patterson, second speaker for the opposition, and our stance is the gag clause in the Integrity Commission Act should not be repealed. I will advance 3 arguments in support of this. Firstly, removal of the gag clause will undermine the investigative process. Secondly, the gag clause mitigates the exercise of undue political pressure on public officials. And finally, removing the gag clause decreases the protection of whistleblowers or informants. Now, the opposition has erroneously argued that the gag clause currently removes witnesses from the pool of investigation and affects investigators in the IC. However, our stance is that it opens up investigations to malicious persons who have personal vendettas against particular public officials. The Integrity Commission is empowered to reach out to any person who they deem necessary to complete investigations. They are not prevented from reaching out to persons. They also erroneously stated that Section 7 prevents them from disclosing information to FID or other entities before tabling. This is not true. Now, removal of the gag clause undermines the integrity of the investigative process. If the gag clause were to be repealed, IC may abuse their discretion to make statements about an ongoing investigation, and this could be prejudicial in multiple ways. You ever hear the saying, "Haste make waste"? Once an investigation into a public official is announced by IC, the public immediately clamors for a verdict. The great public pressure may cause the coming to a swift conclusion that causes the investigative process to be rushed, leading to oversights or even failure to adhere to protocols which ensure due process, ultimately prejudicing the person under investigation. The gag clause being in place allows the investigation to be conducted at a measured pace, facilitating the collection of evidence and the use of thorough investigative strategies without undue pressure from the public to make or disclose findings prematurely. Furthermore, announcements of an investigation before its completion carry a huge confidentiality risk. Persons with friends in high places can seek to intervene in and influence the investigative process, whether it is seeking information not yet made public, bribing officials to influence the outcome of the investigation, or even the destruction of evidence to cover their tracks. These issues are mitigated through the existence of the gag clause, which renders persons outside of IC, not at this time, totally unaware of the conduct of any investigation. One notable instance of this is overseas in the Australian Commission for Law Enforcement, when they were involved in an investigation into corruption allegations within the Australian police force. In this case, details of the investigations were leaked to the media by the Commission before conclusion of the inquiry. These leaks compromised the integrity of the process and influenced public opinion and outcomes of the investigation. They saw the need for a gag clause after their investigative work was ruined. So why should we in Jamaica, who have that protection for our process, be trying to remove it? That would be foolish. Next, the gag clause serves a critical function in helping to mitigate undue political manipulation of public office. Whenever there is controversy or some allegation of impropriety, everybody has something to say, especially political rivals. Almost every politician, whether good, bad, or indifferent, has been asked to resign by the other side over false allegations, which were in some cases downright foolishness.
Point of information.
But this isn't the case only with politics. It's right across the board in the public service. Not accepted. Remember, public officials hold influence or the ability to impact many persons in some tangible way. When statements are made which impugn a public official's character immediately calls for their resignation without even a shred of evidence presented or examined. People aren't really interested in fairness or due process if it's not their career on the line. As alluded to by my first speaker, in Jamaica, if sitting no go so, it nearly goes so. That is the ankle-low threshold to pile on political pressure on someone who should be presumed innocent until proven guilty. We see it with the parliamentarians that are currently under investigation by the IC for unjust enrichment, or the illicit six as they've been dubbed by the media. The calls by some politicians to have them named and shamed have been very loud. Imagine if the IC were at liberty to disclose the identity of these persons. Surely they would bow under political pressure and step down from their seats before investigations are even concluded. Not to say that they are guilty, but merely to say that there is a case for them to answer. Accepted.
My opponent, are you aware that the issues that you're now listing off are the reasons why the gag clause exists, like political manipulation?
What you are not appreciating, my opponent, is that political manipulation is exacerbated in the absence of the gag clause. When it is that somebody is under investigation and there is no gag clause, all hell breaks loose. No. Political pressure would force them to step down before they are even proven guilty. My opponents, does that seem fair? Remember, before being politicians, they're humans like you and I. Have you ever experienced being wrongfully accused? If it were you, you would want your job and your good name to be protected, at least till the end of investigations. My opponents, why don't you want for them what you would want for yourselves? The gag clause being removed will lead to a merry-go-round of public officials being forced to resign every other week on spurious allegations. Finally, removal of the gag clause decreases the protection for informants. One key functions of the IC as set out in the Act is to receive complaints on alleged acts of corruption. The status quo currently is that investigations are not made public until the tabling of a report in Parliament, and in some instances, the persons under investigations are unaware they're being investigated. Removal of the gag clause could cause, in certain circumstances where only a small group of people know about the offense, the offender to know who committed it, and they may use this to victimize the person. They may take retaliatory action by using their position of power, or even worse, they may cause serious harm. In an interview with the Gleaner in 2022, DPP said that the witness protection program in Jamaica, often the witnesses decline to go on it and then afterwards they are harmed. The witness protection program does not extend to witnesses of IC, as they are not yet involved in criminal or judicial proceedings. They are left to their own devices before a final report is tabled. Removal of the gag clause should not be allowed to happen. We have clearly illustrated the importance of the gag clause in reducing political manipulation and other aspects. To remove the gag would undermine the primary focus of IC and prematurely destroy our reputations. I close by asking you, my opponents and judges, where is the integrity in that?
Thank you for your contribution to the debate.
Thank you.
We thank the second opposition speaker for his contribution to the debate. Ladies and gentlemen, order. Can we have some order? Return to the debate. Order. Thank you. We appreciate the excitement. The debate will now transition to a period of cross-questioning. We will begin with the proposition team fielding questions from the opposition for a period of 5 minutes. Just a reminder that questions must be asked within a 20-second time period and responses should be given within 45 seconds. With that said, let's get 5 minutes on the clock for the cross-questioning. You may begin.
How has the gag clause affected, delayed, prevented, or frustrated the efforts of the Integrity Commission in completing their investigations?
As stated in our speech, the gag clause prevents them from speaking until it is tabled in Parliament. So say, for example, they want to initiate their investigation in January and the tabling doesn't happen until July. They are impeded in speaking out, in reaching out to other institutions to garner the relevant information that they need. That's a clear impeachment of the investigation.
Our time's not finished, thank you. In addition to that, also, I hear your second speaker keep making it sound as if it is after the completion of the investigation that it will be tabled in Parliament, but do not be fooled. It is actually before the investigation is complete in a lot of instances.
Time for question.
My opponents, with what level of certainty can you guarantee this House that discretion to make public statements being argued for will not be abused, causing the investigative process to be undermined?
My opponents, the gap clause as it stands now doesn't impact or positively affect persons from indiscriminately exercising their discretion once the report is tabled. So the gap clause doesn't facilitate that. What we have proposed in our policy is disclosures under two circumstances: when it furthers the investigation or it's in the public's interest to do so. And in exercising their discretion, we have proposed 5 guidelines with balancing the individual's right to privacy, the seriousness of the investigation, the prominence and the notoriety of the person on the investigation, to name a few. And so it's a limited and necessary disclosure, and the gap clause doesn't prevent a breach.
Time. Question.
Are you aware that there is currently no time limit in legislation that prevents the tabling of a report to Parliament in a timely manner?
My opponent, I'm glad you asked that. We are aware, and that is our very problem. My opponents were saying in a country that is ranked 45th on the corruption index, once an investigation is open and it goes through the proper channel, then we need to weigh that against the balance of public interest. If it is in the interest of the public, we must let the public know they are our taxpayers. They are the one who pays public official. They are basically your employers. If an investigation is open into you, they should know. And when you are exonerated, they will also know. My opponents have
Time. Question.
Are you saying that it is not in the public's best interest for investigations to be completed and for facts to be made available before there is a public statement?
My opponents and we have said to you that the tabling before Parliament is not only after completion, but before completion. And we've also given some cases where we would need evidence from the public or witnesses to come through. And even then, we would use a very strict, very fair, very meritocratic rubric where we would seek if we need evidence, where we would seek if we need witnesses to come forward. And in doing so, we will exercise once again limited and necessarily disclosure. My opponent, please to bear in mind that members of the IC, such as the retired Chief Justice, are the ones that are checked and balancing this process. Ensure.
Time. Question.
My opponent, with an apology being insufficient, how do you plan to repair the reputational damage caused by premature public disclosure?
My opponent, the first thing that we will not do is call it premature. Let's eradicate that word. There is no premature disclosure. Disclosure will only be done after investigation. So there is an after the investigation is open. So once the investigation is open and that is weighed against the public interest, then of course we will disclose it. My opponent, that does a lot of things. Namely, it helps the public to hold the IC accountable. My opponent, it also on an international scale shows that we are active in our fight against corruption. It shows to them that we are not afraid to investigate the public officials. We're not afraid to investigate the parliamentarians. We're not afraid to come forward and exonerate them.
Do other law enforcement agencies disclose that there is an investigation ongoing and ask for witnesses to come forward?
Yes, my opponent. A lot of law enforcement agency does that, and we would have said it. We would have talked about the Auditor General. We would have spoken about FID. We would have spoken about JCF. We gave you the example. Second speaker gave you the example about an investigation being opened 5 months before.
5 months before any charges.
Time.
Do they name the persons?
No more questions allowed. It's getting a bit warm in here. Is the AC working? But that's it for questions being posed to the proposition team. We'll now have the proposition team asking questions of the opposition team for a period of 5 minutes.
My opponents, are you ready? Wouldn't you concede that the gag clause as it is privileges privacy over the right of the public to information to an unjustifiable degree?
No, we are not conceding that point. It does not privilege privacy over the right of public interest, because after the tabling in Parliament, the public is still interested and everything is disclosed to them. What it does is it balances and protects the reputation of somebody who has not been proven to have done anything as yet.
My opponent, you're using the word balance, but you've only shown us protect. And my opponent, why do we need to go to table it in front of Parliament before the people? My opponent, how does the gag clause in place improve public trust in the integrity of public officials and their processes?
Could you repeat the tail end of that question?
My opponent, how does the gag clause in place improve public trust in the integrity of public officials and their processes?
It increases public trust because they know that the investigative process will be safe and sound. It will not come to premature allegations against an individual before all of the evidence is collected and the commission, the Director of Corruption Prosecution has determined that there's actually a case to answer.
My opponents, the Jakarta Statement and Principles of Anti-Corruption Agency emphasizes regular public communication to ensure confidence in their independence and fairness. Wouldn't you agree that the gag clause undermines this?
We do not agree because we are not arguing for no disclosure. We're asking for timely disclosure when there is sufficient information to be disclosed.
My opponent, and what we have said is that we would only disclose what is necessary and limited, hence sufficient. Thank you for that. My opponent, wouldn't you agree that if the public is kept in the dark, misinformation and rumors can potentially damage reputations and undermine the confidence in the commission?
Once again, the public is not kept in the dark. The public is informed when there is information for them to be for them to be guided on. Furthermore, the public will have questions. We do not want to release a statement and then the Integrity Commission cannot respond to the questions from the public. That is a waste of our time.
My opponents, you are ignoring the very composition of the commission. You mentioned Christie as well and the suffering before. Wouldn't you agree that the new safeguards of the composition of the commission prevents against indiscriminate or reckless disclosure?
We do not agree because what you are asking for currently obtains in the law. They can make disclosures where they find it to be necessary for the execution of their duties under the relevant sections.
Just a pause. We just want to urge the proposition team to ask questions and not to give a response. All right. So we'll now have a question from the proposition team.
My opponent, why should the IC be restricted from making disclosure prior to tabling in Parliament when other investigating bodies like the FID and the Anti-Money Laundering Task Force are allowed to make disclosure without such restriction, especially in circumstances where the IC deems them necessary to do so?
This is so because of the influence of parliamentarians. They have way more influence than the persons being investigated by the similar law enforcement agencies.
Question?
My opponents, would you not say that the gag clause does not only apply to parliamentarians but all public officials?
We do.
But public officials also hold significant influence. They can undermine the investigative process if it is that an investigation is prematurely disclosed. Would you want that?
My opponents, again, you keep mentioning premature disclosure. Wouldn't you agree that the persons who are in the commission doing limited and necessary disclosure have already factored in the reputation of persons, have already factored in certain complaints? That is the question. Wouldn't you agree that they have the necessary... They have the necessary checks and
we think that
experience in mind in order to make sure that these are not indiscriminate and premature disclosure that you keep on mentioning?
Time, question,
we think
response.
that to afford them a wide discretion to disclose as they see fit gives them too much of a latitude to harm person's reputation. They may...
Absolute power corrupts absolutely. You would know.
My opponents obviously weren't paying attention to our policy. Wouldn't you agree that the policy that we put forward advocates for limited and necessary disclosures when certain guidelines are followed?
Why use taxpayer? We will not be using taxpayers' money to repeal and replace for limited disclosure that already exists under the law.
Thank you. That is it. A very heated cross-questioning period. Jermaine, I think this is one of the most heated we have had throughout the competition. Thank you, teams, for that period of cross-questioning. We will pause for 1 minute, and I think we need the break. So we will allow them to put the finishing touches on their reply speeches. We will resume the debate with the opposition reply speech. Can we get some silence in the audience? We will return with the opposition reply speech, followed by the final speaker in the debate, the proposition. The 1 minute begins now. So we will now resume the debate. We'll take the final two speeches. We'll begin with the opposition reply speaker. 5 minutes on the clock. Hear, hear.
Mr. Speaker, judges and audience, I say to you that character assassination is no joke. Think of the gag clause not as a muzzle, but rather as a safety on a gun. The rule is you only shoot when you want to kill, and the gag clause prevents you from accidentally killing someone's reputation, character, and career. We only shoot when we are sure that for us the proposition, after the tabling of a final report from the Integrity Commission before Parliament. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I proudly stand as the reply speaker for the opposition team in this debate. Throughout my speech, I will show two worlds presented in this debate, present the main clash, and ultimately prove why Team Opposition has clearly won this debate. In Team Proposition's world, the gag clause will be repealed and IC will be able to roam freely, damaging the reputation of innocent public officials, ignoring the cardinal principle of innocence until proven guilty, and increasing the public's distrust in the government of our country. In Team Opposition's world, the status quo will be maintained. The IC can investigate fairly without external influence, either from persons under investigation or the general public. This will promote disclosure when the process has been properly completed and information can be shared with certainty to support the accountability of corrupt public officials whilst maintaining the reputation of the innocent and increasing the public's trust in the Integrity Commission and the governance of our country. The main clash in this debate is whether or not the gag clause prevents the Integrity Commission from fulfilling their function. Proposition has argued that a premature public disclosure will allow the IC to investigate, and it also facilitates the necessary measures that can be taken to allow for detection and prevention of corruption. To this end, they've called for repeal and and to facilitate limited disclosure. Team opposition has said, where the Integrity Commission decides to investigate a public official, their suspicion of them may be ultimately shown to be well-founded or ill-founded. But until that point, the law should recognize the human characteristic to assume the worst, or that there is no smoke without a fire, and to overlook the fundamental legal principle that those accused of an offense are deemed to be innocent until proven guilty. We have also said that the reputation of innocent public officials must be protected to further prevent distrust in good governance of our country. My reputation must be protected. The reputation of the proposition must be protected. The reputation of my honorable minister must be protected, and so too for all public officials. We have also said that the Integrity Commission can win in the fight against corruption without supporting premature disclosure of information that unnecessarily undermines the public's trust in the leadership of our country, by ensuring that sensitive information remains confidential until investigations are complete. The gag clause helps to maintain the public's trust, and this is required if we want to improve the suggested 45 out of 100 scoring on our corruption perception index. On the main clash, we won because the proposition has not accounted for the exceptions already facilitated under the IC Act, which allows for disclosure before the tabling of the report in Parliament. Furthermore, Section 53 allows for disclosure in instances of national security, deliberations of cabinet that would prejudice the public interest, and anything that prejudices the detection of offenses. What more disclosure are you asking for, and to who? We submit that the existing framework accommodates limited disclosure, and as such, it would be wasted efforts to repeal and introduce what obtains. We have proven that the gag clause should not be repealed, as it provides for the protection of the reputation of innocent public officials. It also increases the public's trust not only in the commission, but also in the leadership of our country. In closing, I remind you that the burden of the proposition was not to merely argue for the annulment of Section 53.3, but to clearly show how the gag clause has affected, delayed, undermined, and frustrated the efforts of the Integrity Commission in investigating a public official. This they have not done. They have failed to show us how the gag clause has negatively affected, delayed, prevented, and frustrated their efforts. To this end, I submit that we have won this debate. Ladies and gentlemen, I rest the case of the Ministry of Justice.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very fiery reply speech from the opposition. Let's take the reply speech from the proposition team, the final speaker in the debate. Hear, hear.
Gagged, muzzled, tied, restrained, blocked. That is what my opponent is proposing that we do to the transparency and accountability of our beautiful island Jamaica. No worries, team proposition will not have it. All protocol observed. Mr. Speaker, after carefully analyzing this debate, it is clear that my opponents have put forward arguments with no teeth, just gum. Let me show you the gumless arguments. They spoke about premature disclosure and telling the public before you telling Parliament before you tell the people. But my opponent, if it goes straight to Parliament, because it is tabled at the beginning of the investigation, when that is tabled to Parliament and Parliament reveals that to the public, mind you, the investigation would not have been completed. So you achieve the same result that you're trying to prevent. The next thing, my opponent spoke about irrevocable public damage and making malicious intent. My opponent, let me just remind you that if and when someone wants to make a malicious intent on a public official, they do not need the gag clause to be in place or not to do so. My opponents, you also spoke about it might compromise the investigation on its way. And so to prevent the compromising of the investigation, you're telling us that we should go first to the people that we are possibly investigating and tell them and then tell the public? My opponent. Finally, you have also said that a limited and necessary disclosure currently exists. And let me tell you that this is not so. We did you the favor of reading the law for you. I have concluded that the major clash in this debate is a clash of value and what ultimately each team holds superior to the other. On side opposition, the value of reputational protection trumps public interest. And we on side proposition are telling you that we value transparency, we value accountability, and we value public trust. Team proposition would have had this debate won when we laid irrefutable foundational argument. Our first speaker highlighted the contradictory nature of the gag clause in supporting the mandate of the IC, because how can they operate with this news and bureaucratic oppression? She also expounded on the safeguard that are built in the IC Act and how they render the need for a gag clause futile, as it does nothing in our fight against corruption and prevents us from being in compliance with the international corruption framework. To settle and quell the doubts of side opposition, our first speaker introduced to you our value-added policy, which stipulates that the IC should have autonomy to make limited and necessary disclosures under certain circumstances, namely for operational efficiency, such as a call for witness, or if the disclosure is in the best interest of the public. My opponent, our second speaker, saw that team opposition was shaking, but she did not ease up the whip. Instead, she told us how you can safeguard your reputation successfully without the gag clause being in place. And mind you, we made a reasonable concession that there might be some reputational damage. Note the operative words, might and some, because a disclosure does not automatically translate to the contraventions of natural justice principle. My opponent, our goal is to provide a balance between the reputational image of public officials and politicians and public interest. My opponent, finally, my second speaker, also showed you the unfair advantage that the IC was at in comparison to like FID, Auditor General, or JCF. My opponent's side proposition would have done an adequate job of disclosing our burden of proof when we showed you the 5 key elements that we would have been considered when we also built 5 blocks. Block 1, the history of corruption prevention agency, and ultimately how they ended up with the IC and what the mandate is. Block 2, how the gag clause hampers the ability of the IC to conduct thorough investigation. Block 3, how the safeguards provided in the Act renders the gag clause redundant. Block 4, how the removal safeguard public interest. Block 5, a suitable alternative, which the IC should have limited and necessary disclosure. The gag is on the layman Jamaican neck. We will remove it.
Thank you so much to the final speaker in the debate. Thank you so much. At this time, I will hand over to the moderator, Mrs. Swaby.
Don't know if I'm to come up here and say anything, Have I been gagged or ungagged? I'm not really sure. Ladies and gentlemen, what a debate. Please give them a round of applause. What a fiery final debate on the Integrity Commission Act's gag clause. It is clear that our debaters did not hold back. Like experienced barristers, they were throwing the book at each other, sharp like a seam on a September morning. We've really delved into the heart of transparency, privacy, balancing something or balancing nothing. I don't know where we are on the matter. But what I know, that this was a very exciting match on a very topical issue. The arguments have been made. And so we must now determine who was more persuasive, because I believe that on both teams there were sharpshooters. You know, you see the meme from the Olympics where you have somebody fully decked out, you know, nice and suave doing the shooting, but you had this man who just had, from Turkey, I believe, no gear. I don't know who fired off the winning shot. Remember, this is not at anyone. This is at a specific target, so no persons would be harmed. That decision, though, is for the judges to make. They will tell us who are the champions of the public sector debate competition for 2024. And what we know is that it has to be a very fitting champion. Because this match, I said over there telling Anika, I'm getting very hot. Is the AC, you know, and that question and answer segment? Mr. Speaker, we probably need 10 minutes more of that alone. That was fantastic. Congratulations to the teams on an excellent execution. And before I just, dismiss the judges and the teams, I was fascinated by the fact that you had like one lead cheerleader from Admin Gen at the front. Yes. But then, the Ministry of Justice must be empty, because it sounds like everybody came. Well, let us see, because the numbers don't really matter, It's the judges who will decide, and the consideration of the loudest cheers from the audience does not carry any weight for our esteemed panel of adjudicators. All right, so we shall see. Teams, you may greet each other, and while the judges deliberate, I'll be coming down to talk to someone else from the floor about their experience in this competition. Thank you very much. Congrats, teams. And that is Mr. Andre Bogle of the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining on his experience participating in this competition. Good afternoon, Mr. Bogle.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you?
I am well, and how are you?
I'm not too bad. This was a very good match.
Who won? Don't tell me. Don't do it. Don't do it, sir. You're from a different ministry. I don't want anybody to gag you on your way out. Okay. Tell me, what do you do at the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining?
Well, my title is Senior Agricultural Economist. I work in project monitoring and evaluation, though.
What made you, with that sort of experience, consider the public sector debating competition?
I saw it as a challenge, and I think many people in here would agree with it, As a public sector worker, you don't get too many opportunities, or at least in my position, to really pick apart a topic and debate it and have a brilliant back and forth. So I saw it as an interesting challenge and as an immense opportunity.
What will you leave the 2024 season of the debate competition with as your best memory?
Oh, this is going to sound so cliche. But when my team won our second match, it was such an immense moment. After they had announced us, it was almost like we all planned it and we didn't. We huddled together and we whispered the most unifying, most confident, most proud prayer to God. And it was just magical.
Love that. Congratulations on doing so well in the competition. And finally, what do you think you will leave the competition with as something that you have learned that can translate into your work at the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining?
I would say how to structure the idea of bringing across an idea. right? This is a debate competition. And so yes, you get the specific moot and you're supposed to argue the moot. But more than that, I appreciated how Jade in their preparatory session really taught us how to pull an audience into your position and how to organize your ideas in such a way that it will be most effective. I think that's definitely going to help me in work. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Andre Bogle, and all the very best. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for staying with us. We have more to come from the Public Sector Debate Competition for 2024. Remember, we have medals to give out, gold, silver, and bronze. Maybe your team is a winner of one. We will see. We'll be right back. And as we go to the break, remember, you can utilize the photo booth outside, take your pictures, post using the hashtag PSDebateJA2024, and ensure you tag TIU Jamaica. We got to let more people know that the public sector workers never just get a nice razor pay only, but are having very rich conversations about very important issues that are affecting our nation. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, our judges have returned. But before we turn over to our chief adjudicator, and especially since I didn't get any much excitement and fanfare from you, we would like to recognize all our teams for their hard work throughout this competition. So I'll now invite Communication Lead in the TIU, Aniki Clark, to present tokens to all our participating teams. And of course, thank you. First up, Development Bank of Jamaica. They're followed by the Jamaica Information Service, JIS. Next up, Jamaica Customs Agency. Do we have a rep from Customs? All right. Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. Ministry of Health and Wellness. Ministry of National Security. Or reps, please come up. Administrator General's Department. A rep, please come up. Statistical Institute of Jamaica. Ministry of Justice. Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. Water Resources Authority. And they're coming. Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. Okay. Real Estate Board. They're coming. Southern Regional Health Authority. Agro-Investment Corporation. Cannabis Licensing Authority. They're here. Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs. Teaching Service. Who's coming from the Teaching Service? Okay, good. Social Development Commission. National Environment and Planning Agency. Jamaica National Heritage Trust. Ministry of Education and Youth. Family. Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining. All right. Okay. And now we have some sectional prizes. I invite Cabinet Secretary and Head of the Civil Service, Ms. Audrey Sewell, to make these presentations. Fantastic. Our first award is for the most improved team. This goes to one of the finalists in the competition, the Administrator General Department. Congratulations, Team AGD. All right. Now, which team best displayed teamwork? That award goes to one of our finalists, the Administrator General Department. Congratulations. Now, all the teams were very engaged throughout the competition. However, one team stood out as being the most engaged team. That team is, somebody's taking my job, it's the teaching service. I invite a representative from teaching service to collect the prize. Thank you very much, CAVSEC. I now invite Executive Director of the TIU, Ms. Maria Thompson Walters, to present the next set of prizes and awards. If you're checking, you would know the answer to this one already, but who was voted the most popular team on TIU's Instagram and Facebook pages? The winner of the Fan Favorite Award with a total of 539 votes is the Ministry of Education and Youth. They get a family prize. That one can share. Congratulations, Ministry of Education and Youth. The next award goes to the team who kicked off the registration for the competition. They were the first team to register all the way back in March. They are the Development Bank of Jamaica. Congratulations to DBJ on winning the Early Bird Prize. Early birds really catching the worm, you know, because that's a nice basket. At the inauguration of the competition in 2019, 20 teams participated, and throughout the years, 8 of those teams have stuck with the competition. This year, we would like to recognize those teams in no particular order. Can we have a representative from the following teams join us to collect a token? Administrator General Department. Next, Jamaica Customs Agency. Jamaica Information Service. They're coming. Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. Ministry of Health and Wellness. Ministry of National Security. And the Water Resources Authority. Thank you very much, Ms. Thompson-Walters. Thank you. Now, the final sectional prize speaks to wit, consistency, and skill. This award is for the most valuable debater throughout the competition. In addition to a cash prize, this debater will also be a member of the Jamaican delegation to the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. And, of course, we wish to thank the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade for this prize, which I am sure the recipient will greatly appreciate. I now invite Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade and Head of the Foreign Service, Ambassador Sheila Sealy-Monteith, to make this award. This award goes to 3 times best speaker throughout the competition. And coming from the Ministry of Justice team, the most valuable debater is Peyton Patterson. Congratulations, Peyton. And do the right thing and bring back chocolate for everybody in the office. Thank you very much, Ambassador Sealy-Monteith. All right, now, we're getting closer to the crowning. In 2019, the winner was the Trelawney Municipal Corporation. Due to COVID-19, the competition was halted between 2020 and 2022. In 2023, the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service copped the award as Public Sector Debating Champions. Who will it be in 2024? I now invite Jermaine Barrett, Chief Adjudicator, to the stage to announce the results from the 3rd place playoff and the grand final.
Brothers and sisters, uncles, aunties, family, how are you? Good, good, good. I tell you, I love the exchanges, the excitement, the energy, the passion. Can I hear a shout for Ministry of Justice? For Administrator General's Department? for teaching service. What about Ministry of Education and Youth? 4 Titanic teams contested in 2 matches. And I tell you, we had a lot of meaty argumentation, discussions when we went to deliberate for both of those 2 matches. I will not give an exhaustive oral adjudication, except to say that it was good. Both matches were good. And so let's start with the first match, the match that featured the teaching services on team proposition, and on opposition we had the Ministry of Education, the education family that was, right? And the contest centered around the very topical issue of whether or not we should permit judges greater discretion in sentencing. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a unanimous decision. The scores are as follows: 268 points to 300 points. The third place team in the public sector debate competition for 2024 is Teaching Service. That, of course, is proposition.
Congratulations to Team Teaching Service. They have been awarded a prize package of $425,000, including a cash prize of $250,000. Congratulations, Teaching Service, and I now invite TIU's Maria Thompson Walters for the presentation of awards. No, not yet. Team Teaching Service, please make your way. The team is collecting their trophies and the big check. All right, they said the teachers are going to teach, right? Job well done. Teaching, no beating. Teaching only.
And ladies and gentlemen, there's another special award from that third place playoff match. The best debater. The best debater, ladies and gentlemen, in this year's third place competition is Mr. Tevin Cameron. That's the third speaker, the reply speaker from the teaching service team.
We now congratulations. All right. We now invite our fourth place winner, the Ministry of Education and Youth, to the stage for their prize. A prize package of $170,000. A prize package. Thank you. Ms. Thompson-Walters, please stay close. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. I can finally say this because now I feel it. I feel the tension in the air. Judges, Chief Judge, over to you to announce the winner of the 2024 Public Sector Debating Competition.
Thank you very much, Auntie Kemisha. Ladies and gentlemen, just to remind you of the issue that was debated for the grand finals. It had to do with the gag clause for the Integrity Commission Act and whether or not we should just do away with it, yes? The two teams contesting were the team from the Administrator General's Department versus the Ministry of Justice. All right, proposition, opposition in that order. The scores, ladies and gentlemen, big match, heavyweight match. And you felt the energy, didn't you? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, both teams exceeded the 300 mark. The team that places second ends with 305 points. And it was so close. The team that wins with 308 points. 3 points separating them. Ladies and gentlemen, this was indeed a match befitting the grand finals of this august competition. The champions of the public sector debate competition for 2024 is the team from, drum roll, give me a drum roll. All right, Ministry of Justice.
Congratulations to the team from the Ministry of Justice. Please hold on. Ms. Maria Thompson-Walters, I'm going to ask you to make the presentation to our second place winners, the team from the Administrator General's Department. Come on, Team AGD. Our second place winner received a prize package of $567,500, including a $375,000 cash prize. Job well done. Boy, I remember I said, was it going to be within 5,000ths of a second? That close. Congratulations. And, hold on. Mr. Barrett,
yes.
Could you please tell us who the best speaker is? Because, ladies and gentlemen, the best speaker receives a trophy and a cash prize of $25,000.
Family, the decision as to the best debater was a difficult one for us to make as an adjudication panel. There were 3 debaters in contention. The second speaker from Team Proposition, that's of course Team AGD. The reply speaker, that's the third speaker from Team Proposition as well. both of whom we classify as commendable debaters. But the best debater in this grand finals match hails from the winning team. That team, ladies and gentlemen, that speaker is the reply speaker, the third speaker from Team Ministry of Justice.
Congratulations! Please come and collect your Best Speaker Prize from Miss Maria Thompson-Walters. Thereafter, Minister Clark, I'm going to ask you to join Miss Maria Thompson-Walters for the next set of presentations. Overwhelmed, right? Congratulations, congratulations. I now invite this year's 2024 Public Sector Debate Competition champions, Team Ministry of Justice, to the stage. And Minister Clark and Ms. Thompson-Walters will make the presentations. Ladies and gentlemen, our winning team walks away with over $800,000 in cash and prizes, and their check is big, a big $500,000. And to top it all off, they get the big trophy. Thank you. Congratulations to, again, all the teams that participated in the competition. What a fantastic top four. And, of course, our champions, the team from the Ministry of Justice. And as they're doing that, and we're about to bring things to a close, I invite Ms. Anika Clark to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, Kamisha. And I promise you I won't be long because it has been a long morning, right? And I won't stand for too long. between us and lunch. Ministers, permanent secretaries, heads of entities, thank you so much for making the time to be here this morning throughout to this afternoon. Please accept our deepest thanks for participating in this year's staging of the competition. And I must add my own commendations to the Ministry of Justice. They've been knocking for some time, and it's good that they're finally victorious. And a worthy commendation to the Administrator General's Department. Usually, this is just a little secret between us, they get knocked out in the first round, and they went all the way this year, so big ups. Teams, we know it has never been easy, week after week, balancing the day job, and in some cases, managing your families. And so, thank you, teams, for your dedication and commitment to this competition. And a special thanks to the heads of entities, managers, and supervisors who've granted the time to the teams to prepare and immerse themselves in this competition. We believe you will reap the benefits, and the public sector will be better for that support. Our competition would not have been the same without the caliber of judges from JADE or partners. I would like to express our deepest appreciation to the judges for their time, expertise, and impartiality. Your role in guiding and providing constructive feedback to the teams has been instrumental in fostering confidence in the competition. Additionally, you made sure that we had robust rules and guidelines which enabled us to execute the competition fairly and in a very transparent manner. Thank you, judges. And a big thank you to the hardworking TIU communication team. Where are they? And members of JADE who formed the organizing committee and making sure that the competition was properly organized and executed well. I extend my deep gratitude to Team TIU, headed by our Executive Director, Maria Thompson-Walters, for rising to the occasion to support this transformative initiative. And by extension, thanks to our suppliers, decorators, caterers, sound engineer, and streaming team and video production services. We could not have done this without you. And a very special thank you to PBCJ for airing the matches on their channel. To our new followers on social media, thank you for the buzz. And please continue to engage with us as we work together to build a better public service. So ladies and gentlemen, I close by thanking the debate teams once again for your invaluable contributions, and may your passion for public service continue to guide you in your future endeavors. Thank you so much. And my final thank you to Kamisha, who has ably guided these proceedings.
Thank you, Aniki. Hold on, guys. I'm going to get between you and lunch, because you know how today I was talking about how we were starving for gold, just like we're kind of hungry right now? I got some good news for you. Somebody left Jamaica and go fling stone, not discuss. In foreign. Roger Stoner is the Olympic gold medalist in the discus throw. And hold on, it's not just that, with a world record. Wow. So, when I kept on talking about the Olympics, can you tell that I've been up a little too early trying to send good vibes? Avoiding the send because, you know, we're here, E. coli and everything, but gold medal? World record? Not in running from Jamaica? No. And his name, just like how we had a Bolt, now we have a Stoner. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we bring the curtains down on the 2024 staging of the public sector debate competition. You have been, no, for real, because I asked for it, you have been an amazing audience. I have enjoyed my time with you. I am Kamisha Swaby, and we now invite you to the Port Antonio Suite for lunch.